Grants Commission's new rules to tackle with caste-based discrimination in university campuses have been met with protest and outrage by upper caste students across the country. This is the latest episode of Seema Says, where the Wise editor Seema Chishti explains to us what is happening lately. Hello, Seema.
Hi.
How do we explain these protests?
The protests that we're seeing by general category students, which refers to upper caste student groups, are essentially fearful that anything to introduce equity, equality and fairness in the education system will be discriminatory towards them. So it's kind of very hard to understand because we've been hearing, the context of this is very important. The Supreme Court has instructed the UGC to make its regulations to ensure there's no discrimination in higher education institutions very clear and make it very effective. So this is a response to the ruling of the court, and that this comes at the back of two petitions by mothers of Payal Tadvi and Rohit Vemula, who died because of harassment, because of social discrimination they experienced because of being Adivasi Muslim in Payal Tadvi's case and of being a Dalit student in Rohit Vemula's case. So this comes because of this fear that anything that is aimed at cleaning up this whole business of discrimination, at least acting as a deterrent and making it difficult to call names, to discriminate, to hurl abuses, which lead to suicides often, which lead to students from marginalized communities feeling very poorly, gets handled. And the terrible thing is that while these caste groups may be arguing that this is anti-upper caste, etc., I don't see why any call for equality in a highly unequal society should be anti a privileged group. But if they see that as anti them, even people on the other side think that these regulations don't bite hard enough because they don't address the real problems students have with getting into these colleges, what they experience with the inability to cope with syllabi, with other institutional problems that they face. So I think the government is caught in a classic thing of getting hate and anger from upper caste groups, general category, and those who are affected, those kind of discriminated, marginalized communities for not actually pushing enough.
So the provision that makes the false complaint punishable has also been dropped. So how do we see this?
So it has been dropped in order to make it expeditious, because this is what this particular ruling insists, that the equity squads and the equity committee, which will have amongst the people, the members of that committee, people from marginalized groups, would do it quickly. So I'm sure a patently false complaint won't stand. So this committee will investigate it, look at all sides of it, and fairly and squarely handle it. More than that, more than the fact that it will seek to punish people, I think it's meant to act as a deterrent, that things like this do not happen in future. And as far as you're talking, the amendment refers to 2012 regulations of the UGC, which have now been changed. So OBCs have been added to the list of those who are marginalized and discriminated against, and this provision of false complaints has been taken out.
And it is important to note that it is UGC's own data that shows an increase in caste-based discrimination from 173 cases to now 378 cases. Well, moving on, in Uttarakhand's Mussoorie, a century-old shrine of Baba Bulle Shah was demolished, allegedly by people associated with Hindu Raksha Dal. How do we explain this and also the value of Baba Bulle Shah in India today?
This is extremely poignant, and this wonderful qawwali in the landmark film Bobby, which launched Dimple Kapadia in 1973, has a qawwali which starts with Beshak Mandir Masjid Todo, Bulle Shah ve kehta, kisi ka dil na todo, kyonki usme dilbar rehta. Dilbar also in Sufi poetry refers to the Almighty. So somebody who's so much a part of our lives, our lived, shared ideas, our humanity. He's pretty much a Kabir Das kind of figure, a very major figure in Punjabi thinking. He's global in his ideas and his philosophy and the stuff that he puts out. For you all, you must be familiar with Rabbi Shergill's rendition of Bulla Ki Jana Main Kaun. So when Sufi saints who preached equality, who preached for oneness, who are a very powerful force of nature in Indian history, in the subcontinent's history, in bringing people together with people of the Bhakti movement, whether it's Mirabai, Kabir, Bulle Shah, other poets of this ilk in that period. When we start breaking shrines, old shrines, 100-year-old shrines, it's disturbing that it's being done because it's seen as Muslim, no doubt. It's a reflection of the hate being whipped up against living Muslim citizens because it is seen as a symbol of them, but also for the ideas that Bulle Shah kind of put out. If you're willing to vandalize, attack their shrines or places set up as their shrines to honor their memory, it's quite scary. And I think, of course, this has an all-India resonance in this kind of witch hunting that's been happening. We look at Hemanta Biswa Sarma's comments on Mia Muslims talking openly about how they need to be hounded out. Vote chori means you need to go after them. That's disturbing enough as is. But Uttarakhand has been particularly disturbing. There is a temple committee which wants to exclude non-Hindus from entering the Dham temples. And they have a clarification which they've issued yesterday, which says that Jains, Sikhs and Buddhists are allowed. So if you're going to define piety or faith of Hindus, which is a very kind of a darya, the large religion and a capacious idea, if you're going to narrow it down to just being anti-Muslim, I think the entire project, the Indian project, is in deep trouble.
Right. Moving on, in Minnesota, Renee Good was fatally shot by ICE officer, and intensive care nurse Alex Petty was killed after being stopped by border agents. This had led to protests across the country, but no action so far has been taken against the officers who were involved. What is the Trump Sarkar up to?
Oh, God knows what the Trump Sarkar is up to. I think he has very little idea himself what he's up to. But for me, there were like two important takeaways from here as a citizen of the planet and watching what's happening. First is that those who protested against this, against Renee Good and Alex Petty being shot dead in cold blood, it's almost kind of near murder if you look at various angles of the video that's there, are people who are not undocumented workers. So it's not as if say people, they start going after people with long hair. Just people with long hair need not protest. People with short hair, no hair, medium hair, everybody needs to stand out and extend solidarity. For me, that's the meaning of solidarity, and we've seen that happen. So people are going after ICE. ICE, for those who don't know, I'm sure everybody knows, but just revising that Trump has made mass deportation a major part of his political pitch. And they boast about it, that in the first 9 months we put out so many people, but they go about attacking people on the streets and almost intimidating them and creating an atmosphere of terror. There was a report that there were 170 incidents which to people they should not have gone to in just 9 months. So people in communities are recording them. So people who are white, who are American, who probably don't fear from ICE, but they are holding out against this basically unjust number. So for me, that's important that there's solidarity from people who are not directly affected by these excesses and this absolutely craven acts by ICE. Number two, these protests matter. What has happened is that Trump has actually backed down. He may not have immediately acted against them. He has put Kirsty Holm out of the picture, who's the Homeland Security Secretary, and he's tried to make peace with the Minnesota governor, whom he's otherwise insulted earlier, and said he's had a very good talk with them. So he's been put on the back foot. And looking at the ratings, his ratings are at an all-time low. His ratings on handling immigration are sinking, are at a low in January. His ratings on the economy are anyway tanking, and his overall ratings are even lower than that. So for me, these two things really matter. That people who are not directly affected by injustice protest, because that's the meaning of solidarity. And number two, the protests do kind of matter because they make a difference.
Moving on to the last section of the show where Seema recommends. What are Seema's recommendations this week?
I have a very weird recommendation. I have just one because I've been hunting for this. There is a Cuban Jazz Plaza Festival, which is an annual event, which Cuba hosts for its artists and artists around the region, irrespective of what it's facing. It's facing unbelievable sanctions, threats from its really large neighbor, and bullies who say that they may kind of call in. But I was like really surprised and delighted to note that the festival is still on. So I'm still looking for like a video of the whole thing, which I've been unable to find, but maybe in the show notes I can put an article that I read about the enthusiasm and the calm with which they're going ahead and holding the Jazz Festival in Havana.
All right.
Your recommendations?
My recommendation is this book by Mander. It's called The Fatal Accident of Birth, Stories of Suffering, Operation and Resistance. It's a beautiful book because I have worked really closely with Mander, and this book is about all the people who went through caste-based discrimination, discrimination related to religion, or people who are living in poverty, and it's a beautiful stories of their resilience.
So, most apt too. Yeah, nice
at this point, definitely. That's all for today. Thank you for watching Seema Says, and continue watching the Wire's YouTube channel for more updates.